It's time once again for the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from CCX Media. Thanks for joining us, along with Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome once again.
Thank you.
We have a lot to talk about. Maple Grove Days just happened, so we'll recap some of the fun happening there. We've got a work session to talk about, and about an hour and 14-minute council meeting was on July 18th, and a lot happening in the city as summer rolls along, so we'll bring you up to date there. Heidi, let's begin with the work session. Two big topics here to touch on. First was discussing the new THC legislation. Give us a little background, and I would guess not something that Maple Grove alone is looking at. All cities having this discussion.
Yeah, for sure. I think every municipality in the metro area, probably in the state of Minnesota, is trying to figure out, what to do, if anything, about the new product that was legalized during the regular session and became effective July 1. Came to us as a surprise to many. I remember hearing the news stories on July 1st and thinking, boy, I don't remember that being discussed during the session. And so in the League of Minnesota Cities, which normally is kind of at the table for these discussions, talking about how a city might react to this, really wasn't at the table. And so I think every city's just trying to figure this out. There's been a couple of cities that are looking at some regulatory issues, like to add on to a tobacco license. I think our concerns right now is that while there are some things in state law about, it's not to be sold to anybody under the age of 21, there's special labeling on the product. There's no requirement that it's, that it's behind a counter, anything like that. So it could just be sitting on a store shelf and, is that ID being collected for that product, that kind of a thing. So some concerns with that and how available that will be in the community. One path that a number of cities are looking at going is kind of a moratorium, just calling a timeout until we can get our arms around what would be the best way to deal with that from a regulatory perspective. So this one will come back to the council potentially at the August 1st meeting for some more discussion, looking at a moratorium and kind of taking that time out. And in that meantime, also expecting that the League of Minnesota Cities might come up with a model ordinance that all cities could be consistent with. So more to come on this one.
Very good. Other item at the work session on the 18th was the Community Center Renovation and Expansion Project update. A lot happening here in this arena. What is the latest?
Yeah, so we had some opportunities to connect with the Park Board and the City Council earlier in June. Got some feedback about the plans. We've been working to kind of update those plans that it would, without the Lifetime space, really doing the project fully to the west. Had received some feedback on wanting to ensure that the banquet space that was envisioned in the renovation expansion project was bigger. They were trying to hit a target of about accommodating 300 there, as well as kind of the location of the walking track and how that would be incorporated into the building. So we went back with our architects and tried to maximize space that we would be renovating versus new construction space, and then really maximize parking on the site, and then also addressing that banquets facility size as well as the walking track location. So some really good feedback from the Park Board and City Council last night now on that master plan, and we're going to be sharing out some more of that information about that. It is located on our website under the work session agenda. There's a PowerPoint there that folks can go and see. And then we also just provided an update on our communications efforts from now until the election. Of course, we have a local option sales tax question on the ballot in support of the community center expansion renovation project. So from now until November, we're going to be out talking with a lot of community groups, making sure that voters have information. So when they go to the polls on November 8th, they understand the project and kind of how the funding that is proposed would work. So lots more to come in terms of communication there, but good update for the Park Board and the Council, and we'll just continue to share that information with the public in the coming months.
And we'll touch on that topic a couple more times within our report today of what things are coming up. A few items pulled from consent at the meeting on the 18th. The first was related to Chanticleer Pizza and discussing their application for a permit. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, a couple of questions. Councilmember Leith had a few questions on this premises permit application. This is for a charitable gambling permit for Chanticleer Pizza for the Maple Grove football Booster Club organization. So a couple questions there. We'll be bringing that back to the council likely on August 1st.
Other item from the consent agenda was resignations from the Arbor Committee and what that means looking forward. So a few people leaving the committee that have served well.
Yeah, so Michael Asen and Stephen Courtney both resigned from the Arbor Committee, and so we are looking for new members. Applications are open through July 24th, and information available on our website about that. But just Councilmember Hanson pulled this. She's liaison to the Arbor Committee and wanted to thank Michael and Stephen for their service on the Arbor Committee.
Moving ahead to the regular agenda, one item under the open forum, a discussion about some construction and some runoff that's happening. I understand this is around the Elm Road area.
Yeah, so pretty big construction project down there along the Elm Road area, new neighborhood constructed and some utilities and road connections through there. So resident came in to talk about some concerns over some stormwater issues, and so staff will be following up on that.
Again, the meeting was about 1:14, and about 48 minutes of that time was taken up by this next topic, the community survey results from 2022. Give us again a little background on why this survey happens, how often it happens, and let's talk results.
Yeah, so we were out doing the community survey earlier this spring. Last community survey we had done in 2016, so it's been a bit. We usually try to do it every 5 years, so we had advanced it before we did our comprehensive plan work in 2017, started that work in 2017, and so now doing it again here in 2022, and then we will again, look at another 5 years to be conducting this survey. But we had great response. We had surveys were mailed to 4,800 randomly selected resident households in this happened in April of 2022. A total of 979 surveys were completed that's a response rate of 21%. So we were really pleased with that. In past years, we've had around 500 to 600 surveys completed. So this was really a great sample of the survey results for the community. Lots of information available on the website. There's a PowerPoint there that kind of summarizes all of those things. But I think in general, a lot of really good feedback about the residents' feelings about the community. Virtually all survey respondents rated their overall quality of life in Maple Grove as good or very good. And then almost all residents gave positive marks to Maple Grove as a place to live, 98%, raise children, 96%, and then 8 and 10 were pleased with the city as a place to work, and 7 and 10 gave positive ratings for Maple Grove as a place to retire. So lots of good specific data in that survey about various aspects. We are going to be digging in a little bit deeper. There were certainly areas of, for improvement identified as well, so we want to take a look at those and see, what we want to do from a service or program perspective to try to address that. So we're going to be doing that work at a director's level first, and then plan to bring something back to the council maybe later this fall for things that we can start to think about based on this feedback. So a couple questions about the community center generally yielded, maybe the quality of the community center has reduced, but also very much a high interest in seeing the community center reinvested in. And then a question about garbage hauling and whether, today we're an open hauling city where residents have the choice of their garbage hauler, and we've often had residents requesting the consideration of going to closed hauling, where the city would basically contract with a hauler or a number of haulers to serve different areas of the community. There was interest here. I think we want to dig in the data a little bit more in terms of we do have demographics here, so we can determine, what was a townhome, single family home, apartment, that kind of a thing.
Sure.
So we'll be looking at that data a little bit more closely, and that'll come back to the council in the future as well. But good presentation on behalf of Polco here, and lots of information, like I said, in that PowerPoint on the website. We encourage residents to go out and take a look.
It sounded like one of the neat things that Polco could do, because they do so many other city surveys, is compare information. Is that correct? So not only do you understand what your residents think, but you see how that compares to other cities and what their residents think as well. Yeah,
so they refer to that as benchmark data. So really looking at cities, comparable cities across the country, and how do we measure up in those various measures. And they ask the same questions across a number of different cities. Sometimes there's not a benchmark benchmark question to compare to. But if you go look at that PDF of the PowerPoint, you'll see a little gold star, and that generally refers to that benchmark data and whether we're above benchmark or below benchmark. And generally, Maple Grove performs above benchmark for comparison cities across the country. So yeah, lots of good information they can glean about kind of how we're doing compared to other cities as well.
Very good. Find it on the city's website, maplegrovemn.gov. You can find out more. Now to some department updates, community and economic development. They've got a planning commission coming up on the 25th. Sounds like a lot happening there as well.
Yeah, going to be a pretty big meeting, July 25th Planning Commission. The first item is kind of a fun one. We're really looking forward to this. It's called Pints and Paddle. This is up at the Grove, kind of in the Target area, but a 41,000 square foot new building that would include 9 indoor pickleball courts and then a beer hall and a food court type or food garden type of thing. So really a neat concept. I think we've really been interested in trying to bring more experience-based businesses to Maple Grove, and so I think this is a really great fit. And given the interest in pickleball, I think it'll be a nice addition up there to the Grove. So that one's on July 25th.
Okay.
We have a garage variance on 94th Avenue that the Planning Commission will consider. And then Rush Hollow, which is the larger residential development off of north of Territorial up there, west of Fernbrook, kind of that County Road 81 area up to the Dayton border. That one will be coming forward for consideration, as well as there's a comp plan amendment associated with that. So that might take a couple steps with the Planning Commission. This is a pretty big development with lots of moving pieces in terms of the road alignments, the densities, the park locations, and so lots to think about here for the Planning Commission, and so maybe a bit before it gets back to the council.
And a little bit of business news as well. Later on in the program, we're going to talk about a lot of new businesses coming to Maple Grove and some of the events around those. Next is Engineering Public Works. Main Street construction is back going after Maple Grove Days. What's next on that plan? Yeah,
so we took a break for Maple Grove Days, and so now they're kind of out there full steam ahead. They're going to be working kind of on both sides of the road. If you've been down Arbor Lakes Parkway, you'll notice that by Max's on Main, the old Clados space, there's been a right-in, right-out added to that backside of that parking lot. So helps us with some circulation there during the construction time, but also improved access to those businesses back there as well. So lots of impacts to Main Street for the next few weeks, but we just want to remind folks businesses are open, and we will be, the circulation behind the buildings will kind of be how that will occur when construction is occurring out in the street.
Very good. All right, be careful as you drive through that area, and those that travel 610 might be happy to hear that more work going on behind the scenes. What's happening right now? Yeah,
so we are working with the property owners up there on some right-of-way acquisition and trying to understand costs of that. And so continue to just plan and move little steps ahead here.
Right.
Our goal is to get this project under construction in '23. We're awaiting news on some federal funding that we've applied for. So kind of keeping all of our toes and fingers crossed here for the next couple of months as we lead up to those dates. And so just more work being done to prepare for the construction of that project.
Final notes from the meeting on the 18th, administrative items. Talked about the remote workplace policy, something that's been in the works. Tell us about that report and what the action was at the meeting.
Yeah, so this is an item that was identified at our council staff strategic planning session back in February, identified as something that the city should look at in terms of its ability to recruit and retain staff, and generally in response to the changing needs of the workforce. We see a lot of our comparable suburbs having a remote work policy. Clearly the bulk of our positions at the city are not eligible for remote work, police, fire, public works, those types of things. But there are positions even within each of those departments, and then other departments with the city where remote work from an administrative perspective would be a possibility. I think it just provides staff some flexibility and kind of that work-life integration, if you will. So we had that discussion in February, had a work session in June, so bringing it back here, a couple more questions here on this, so we'll bring that back on August 1st, likely to the work session for some discussion there.
And speaking of that work session on the 1st, a couple other things will be on that agenda to discuss what's coming up on the 1st, and then another one coming up on the 15th, and it's budget time, believe it or not.
Yeah, so we're circling back on the ballot language for the local option sales tax. We did have some discussion about that on June 20th. There were some questions there, so we're bringing that back to the August 1st work session to meet the deadline for the county for the ballot by August 16th, or I'm sorry, August 26th. We'll need to have that consideration on the August 15th regular agenda. So this is kind of one last work session discussion about that. And then also kind of an interesting concept. It's called the Fence Consortium, and so following kind of the civil unrest, not only in Minneapolis but also Brooklyn Center, a lot of suburbs have gotten together to talk about how we might work together to be able to access fencing in the case of an issue of civil unrest. And so really wanted to create sort of that safe space for peaceful protest, but also allowing for the continuation of public services. You know, thinking about the Maple Grove Government Center where the police department is located and our government center access, those types of things.
Right.
So consortium being established between a number of suburbs here in the metro area, and the city has an opportunity to sign on to that joint powers agreement. So we'll be having some discussion with the council just about the cost of that and how that agreement would work.
So that all happens on the August 1st work session, and then August 15th again, it's budget time, and that process well underway.
Yeah, so we started budget work at a director's level, department level back in June, and so we have the budget kind of in draft form and preparing to bring that forward to the council on August 15th. We'll see if we can get through it all in one night. We have September 6th that we could also have more discussion about the budget if needed. Looking to get that preliminary levy set at that second meeting in September to meet the end of September deadline at the county.
So that is a recap of the meeting from the 18th. We'll tell you about the next meeting coming up in a few minutes, but now let's take a look around town, some of the fun things happening and some of the things coming up. And speaking of fun happening, mentioned it at the top of the show, it was Maple Grove Days the week before as we're recording here. Tell us about the big event. What's the feedback from Maple Grove Days?
Yeah, I think it went really well. I think it was warm, no doubt, but actually the night of the parade it kind of clouded up and there was a nice breeze, so it was kind of a lovely evening for a parade. But I think everything went really, really well. I had the opportunity to be out at the expo most of the day on Saturday, kind of check out the bed races Saturday night, the music at the community center, and the fireworks, of course. So I just want to extend the city's appreciation to the Maple Grove Community Organization, Bree Bolden and Brandon Vreeman, and kind of leading that, and of course Mike Canan with the Lookout, a big part of that as well. So great community festival, well attended, and I think the Maple Grove Community Organization really does so much to bring this event to the community along with all their volunteers. So many thanks to MGCO.
They'll take about a week of rest and then they'll start planning for the next year. So they love it and they'll get right back at it. Photo contest is underway and probably a lot of people taking pictures out at Maple Grove Days. What's the deadline that we should keep in mind for that?
Yeah, so it closed last week, and we have
it did close
460
right
entries submitted, and over 2,100 votes cast for the viewer's choice entry. And then the judging is going to take place here in August. And there are monetary prizes and recognition at a city council meeting. I've seen a few of the photos, and they're really fun. So looking forward to the outcome of this one this year.
Thanks to all those that participated. Let's talk water for a couple minutes here. First, watering restrictions. It is hot out there. It hasn't rained a lot.
Yeah.
What should residents remember?
Yeah, we're kind of getting back into that, not quite drought, but certainly dry conditions here. So as you recall, last year during the drought, we implemented watering restrictions. Many suburbs here in the metro area have those in place all the time. So we implemented, no watering between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. and then kind of the odd even scheduled according to your house or business number. So we just ask folks to adhere to that. It really helps us with managing, kind of how much water we're pumping on a daily basis, and just good stewardship of the city's water.
All right, and here's another way to maybe save some water is the water rebate program. Give us a little background and tell us what residents can do here.
Yeah, so we have a new program that offers Maple Grove property owners the opportunity to reduce their water bill. Those who replace their current irrigation system with WaterSense, which are kind of smart controllers, and spray sprinkler bodies. I don't know what that is,
All
but I
right,
guess
we'll have to find out.
And apply to receive a rebate, can apply to receive a rebate for up to $250
nice.
for each property. So I think it just helps with that, kind of smart technology in terms of if it rains and programming and that type of a thing. So we recognize we put some, some new guidelines in place here, restrictions in place, and so this is kind of an opportunity to improve your system to offset that.
Very neat. Maple Grove's website has more information about that if you are interested. One more discussion about water in the fire hydrants and the firefighters wanting to get to those hydrants. Again, how can residents help out there?
Yeah, so fire hydrants, even in the summertime, we need to pay attention to those as well. We do we talk about this a lot in the winter with snow, but in the summer it's kind of more a lot of landscaping efforts that get done in and around the fire hydrants and making sure that those are trimmed back and maybe not planted so close to those fire hydrants. It's really important in the middle of the night that we can find those and get access super quick.
One other item from the fire department is the smoke alarm blitz. What happened? What did they find out?
Yeah, so recently on a Saturday morning, our fire prevention staff was out conducting a smoke alarm blitz. They replaced over 150 smoke alarms in neighborhoods with recent fires to help ensure homes have working smoke alarms.
Fantastic, and I'm sure you can find out more information about those on the city's website. We talked to businesses earlier, a lot of business activity in city. All right, Heidi, give us a list here. What's open where?
Yeah, it's been a fun summer for some new businesses coming to town, but we have Nice to Meet Ya, which is opened on Wedgwood Lane, kind of that inline retail there out in front of Kohl's. They specialize in boba teas and poke bowls, and they are planning a grand opening later this month. Then over at the shops at Arbor Lakes, we're excited that Rojo Mexican Grill has signed a lease for the former Patrick space, so kind of that end cap on the far west end of the mall. And then Athleta is coming, they're right next to the Face Foundry. And then Six for Good is open, and it offers jewelry, gifts, clothing, cookies, and more. And so this is a neat concept. We have their ribbon cutting later this week on Thursday afternoon. It's kind of 6 micro businesses, all women owned in this space, and so offering all kinds of different products from each of their own businesses. The Fountains at Arbor Lakes is excited to welcome Patina in the former Charming Charlie space, and that's going to be a nice addition. The Dancing Ganesha is a contemporary Indian cuisine restaurant, and that's going into the former Hung Thai space. And then Stretch Lab. This is a business that focuses on improving flexibility and mobility with professionally led stretches. I could use that after this past weekend. So lots of new businesses coming to town here, both at the shops and the Fountains, and then of course kind of out in front of Cub as well. Yeah, so take a drive around town and visit some of those new businesses and say welcome to them. Experience Maple Grove. We've talked about this process and getting people to Maple Grove and enjoying the city, and they are moving ahead with some staff. Tell us about the recent addition. Yeah, this organization is really kind of coming to life. They have some, you might see some new branding out there, the Experience Maple Grove, kind of a light blue and green color scheme there. But they've hired their full-time president and CEO, Gretchen Wilbrandt, and she started with the organization on July 11th. She was around this past weekend for Maple Grove Days. She recently served as the executive director of the Minnetonka Yacht Club, so but a very full variety of experience in her background with event planning, destination marketing, that type of thing. So she brings a strong passion for the tourism industry, and then, as I mentioned, previous experience running a nonprofit organization. So we're really excited to get this organization up and running. Of course, this is our destination management organization here that's funded by an existing tax, lodging tax, 3% tax on hotels, and it helps us to market Maple Grove. And I can already see things that Experience Maple Grove is getting involved in out there with some tournaments that are coming to town, and so we're really excited to have Gretchen on board and see this organization come to life. All right, watch for more to come on that. We're going to end with a few places to be around the city to have some fun. The first is Town Green. Lots of activities there. What day should we be out? Yeah, so we are continuing with our musical performances, 7 p.m. on Monday and Wednesday evenings. The kid entertainment on Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. and then of course now we'll continue through the fall with our movies at dusk. All right, so lots of fun happening at Town Green, opposite side of the community center in the parking lot there, Farmers Market. How is that going? Yeah, it's been great. Very well attended this summer, and they've kind of lucked out from a weather perspective too. So Thursdays from 3 to 7 at the community center, we're going to be entering into tomato potato and sweet corn season here, so we encourage people to come on out to the farmers market. I do want to mention one piece, National Night Out. So one of our summer highlights, it's set for Tuesday, August 2nd. It's always the first Tuesday in August, and really excited this year. I think we had a nice comeback last year despite COVID, and this year's hopefully another strong year. But party registration is requested by July 25th, and that ensures a visit from police, fire, or other city personnel. We have plow trucks that go out, that kind of a thing.
Fun.
And you do get kind of a gift basket for your party. And then just as a reminder, we're back with the kickoff party at the community center on August 2nd from 11 to 1. We do have a free hot dog lunch that's sponsored by the Lookout this year, so that's very nice. Lots of emergency equipment and things for the kids that day. So lots of information available on our website about National Night Out. And then just one wrap up is the swimming area.
Yes, where can we swim? Where can we cool off a little?
It's been hot this week, so you want to go swimming. Community center pools are open. They've been very, very busy this last couple of weeks. The Central Park Splash Pad, great location. It's free. You can come anytime, and that's been very busy as well. Weaver Lake Beach, just a reminder, we don't have any lifeguards out there, but I think good to be, monitoring your kids when they're out there. We've had a few issues happening out at the beach, and then of course the swimming area up at Elm Creek Park Reserve. So just encourage people to take advantage of these water opportunities during these hot days.
Yeah, might cool you off. I saw a lot of people at Central Park at the Business Expo that kept running through, and they were all wet. And I'm thinking, where have they been? Obviously, they were over at the fountains and getting sprayed down there. Well, that's your recap of the meeting from the 18th and a look at what's happening around the city. Heidi, thank you very much again for the information. Let's leave you with the next meeting date. It will be on Monday, August 1st, 7:30 at the Government Center. Website in the middle of the screen. Again, a lot of information there about some of the things we've talked about and a look at some things coming up, and also all of that survey information. And again, phone number right at the bottom if you would like to call. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.